right, well, welcome to DoGoodery, everyone. We're gonna have another awesome episode today because I am joined by a very good friend of mine, Karen Kelly. And Karen Kelly is the CEO and founder of Launch by Lunch. She's also a TEDx speaker, soon to be mega viral TEDx speaker, no pressure. And she's also a 3-time founder of multiple different entrepreneurial endeavors. We'll be talking about that, and a nonprofit fundraiser, as well as founder. Co-founder. Oh, co-founder. Beautiful. Excellent. Well, Karen, so nice to see you, my friend.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely.
So excited to have this opportunity to kind of talk about how you and I have both been on similar trajectories the last few years of how do we bring more positive energy and change to the world.
100%. And you're also very well knowledgeable in the social health world. Is that right?
Yeah, social health has become a huge part of my life over the last few years, really starting with kind of my rock bottom moment, which is what I talk a lot about in the TED Talk, when I had this sort of moment where my entire sort of support system collapsed. And it really started with the fact that I couldn't get after school care for my son. Our public school district just sort of ran out of space. And so, you know, we have no family nearby. I didn't have any grandparents to call on. And really it came down to the fact that, you know, I'm trying to run a company. I'm sitting there on Zoom. My child's coming through the door at 2 o'clock. I had a choice to make, right? So am I going to be the parent that my child needs and deserves, or am I going to be the leader that my company needs and deserves? And I ultimately chose my child. And so I say in my talk, I resigned from motherhood. But, you know, really at the end of the day, the choice was easy, but I was going to fix the problem. And so, you know, what had happened, and I went on Facebook and I said to other moms, like, who else doesn't have after school care? I'm just curious who else is facing this problem. And by the end of the day, I had 75 emails. And this is a small town. So I knew, like, wow, you know, kind of nobody has after school care, or there's a real dearth here and there's a bigger problem. And so over the next 7 months, mobilized 600 parents under the banner of a grassroots movement that I started called Parents for After School Solutions. And really it was about how do we come together collaboratively with the district and with other external partners to create the programs and the resources for the parents in our community. And so through that, 7 months later, we launched 2 new programs. And we could all go back to work.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what does that look like in terms of, like, when you put it together with your friends and your other
Yeah.
community members? Obviously, there's a lot of challenges in terms of, you know, the logistics of it and kind of launching it yourselves. But
Yes.
walk us through that a little bit.
Sure. So we did kind of several things to move the needle forward. One was we created a parent database so we could keep everybody informed about what was going on. But the second thing was we mapped all the town land assets to look at, well, if you're telling us that there's not enough space in the schools, like, let's look at what other land assets the town has. This isn't a financial problem, which is a really interesting piece of this, right? People were willing to write checks. We just need to create the momentum for it. So we found a summer camp that was actually operated by the YMCA in the summer months, but was sitting dormant September to June. And so we networked our way to the CEO and said, like, hey, like, you know, Wayland has a real after school care problem. Is there a reason you're not running a program there during the year? And they said, Wayland has an after school care program? We said, yes. So that took just the relationship building there and connecting them to the district, and having the district be open to collaborating with them was more finessing than I would have ever imagined. But that was one of the programs that we managed to kind of string together. And then the second one, which took more effort, was we reached out to probably 100 local vendors who serviced some kind of after school program for kids. A lot of them were on site. Some of them went to schools, but basically we said, hey, we partnered with our rec department. We said, are you open to this? They said yes. So we essentially went out and found 15 vendors to plug into an after school care program at a rec department. They essentially created the banner for it. And then the next hurdle was, well, how do we get the kids there? Right? So getting a school bus to actually run through all the schools and deliver the kids. And we had to lobby through the town to get that done. You know, help them build financial models to bake it into the cost of this after school care program. But that is essentially, we said, okay, like we brought it all the way to the altar and put the pieces in place. And again, parents were perfectly willing to pay for these programs. It just needed a group of people to actually get it done.
That's amazing. And that leads us to TED. So we all know TED.com. We know the TED stage and TEDx locally here. I was actually lucky enough to be at your TED Talk.
That's right.
And you crushed it.
Thank you.
So there's a lot that goes on in the preparation for that.
There's a lot that goes on.
I was stressful for me watching everyone up there because I'm like, that is like 17 minutes straight of a monologue.
Yeah, it is. It is.
What is that like?
There's stagecraft involved, which
Yeah.
is a word I had never heard
Yeah.
before. So I would say preparing for that was really like the closest thing I can compare to is running a marathon.
Mhm.
I was a week out and I just thought to myself, gosh, if I haven't prepared well enough at this point, there's nothing I could have done to fix the problem. But it is a very long journey of like the application process and all of that. And then once you get accepted, creating like, writing the thing, of course. I did it at Walden Pond. There are some really wonderful folks who run that. They're all nonprofits throughout the country. And these folks had great experience on the stage themselves. They gave us all free coaching, which was incredible. So we would do it over Zoom. And then eventually I went to their house. So learning so much about, number one, how to memorize something.
Yeah.
I mean, memorizing 10 pages of it is so much. And I don't have a great memory.
Yeah.
So it was a challenge, but different strategies with that. So thinking about like highlighting different paragraphs colors. So I would remember that's the emotional state I should be in when I talk about that. Doing things like my voice. Like this is very interesting. I probably should have done some vocal exercises before I sat in front of this mic. I tend to talk in the back. You need to talk in the front. So they gave me all sorts of vocal exercises to do. Things, my hands, right? We're all talking a lot with our hands.
Yeah.
There's a lot of no-nos there. You're on like a red circle. You're really not supposed to move. So there's a lot that goes into it. And then I think that final moment of knowing when you get up on that stage, whatever you do now is going to stay with you forever.
Yeah.
These things follow you around no matter where you go. So, but I think the most helpful thing for me was, and it was emotionally hard because I was talking about a lot of things that were quite personal, but, was knowing that like, look, I just want to get the story out into the world because I want to help people. I'm not selling a book.
Yep.
I don't have an agenda. I just want people to benefit from this and feel inspired and take action on things that they believe in and be the change they want to be in the world.
Samesies.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I know.
I mean, for
Found
real.
it.
Yep. So, all right. So now you've got a community of other TED speakers. You probably share a language, just like, Liam, for instance, with his infusions, with, other folks that get that experience there of being there all day, other kids, they got their own language when they get together. So what's that like when you have the post wrap up of, well, what do we do from here?
So that's interesting, actually. We don't actually spend much time together.
Oh, no? Okay.
Because actually people were coming from all over the country.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
So I kind of assumed that it would be more local folks, but there were a few local people, but people are actually coming from all over the country. So we only met that day. And we were only on a Zoom one other time.
Oh.
So interestingly, it actually didn't really create.
I kind of pictured it as like you're all doing like a group kind of
Yeah,
exercise type of thing. Yeah.
No,
Totally
it's
wrong
all
then.
very
Okay.
individualistic,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that leads us to how we also had another interesting event recently where both you and I and Robert were all together at and we had an amazing performance by Miguel Cabrera, who we're going to toss to in just a moment here, where we took over all of in the basement and basically had this amazing performance by Miguel, as well as some of the best food we've ever had. So with that, we'll toss to Miguel's performance, and that was amazing. So check that out.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on all Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. Fill my heart with song, let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, oh, I worship and adore. In other words, please me try. In other words, I love you. worship and adore. In other words, peace may try. In other words, in other words, in other words, I love you.
Awesome. Great job, Miguel. Thank you very much, Ben Diamond. Thank you very much, Will. Thank you very much, Dan. I mean, you all met each other 30 minutes before you started performing together. So how cool was that? Absolutely amazing. So thank you very much. And one of the things that we're doing with DoGoodery here is we're infusing our grassroots do-gooders, yourself, with a amplification of expertise. So we've actually have Brady Sadler, who's going to be joining us on stage, who's also a mutual friend that we met through the connections at Launch by Lunch. And we have Jeff Moss from Parker Dewey as well, too. So Brady, if you don't mind coming up as well, too, thank you. And then Jeff, if is able to kick on the Zoom, too. Okay, bring him up, too. So actually, as Jeff comes up, too, Brady, tell us a little about yourself.
Thanks for having me. Great to see you both. Two friends in the business and community overall in Boston doing awesome work. Proud to be joining you. I am a lifelong marketing brand business strategist, someone who loves creativity and collaboration. And today that manifests in helping different businesses as well as bringing together people to find partners to work together, especially now that many of us are working more in entrepreneurial endeavors, and that all comes under this umbrella called the afternoon shift, kind of a nod to, as you advance in your career, how do you navigate the changing waters of what that looks like for all of us, and as I said, how do we come together and help each other through that?
And I was lucky enough to attend your afternoon shift on Friday of last week, actually, where we went to the Folk and Americana Hall of Fame inside the Wang Center. That was epic. I mean, we had Prince's, on stage. I know Ben's a huge Prince fan. That's there. They had, let's see, Kurt Cobain's autographed, it was like a lab coat, I think it was. And they had Madonna's Like a Virgin outfit, I think. Wow. And then Bad, Michael Jackson's one too. Yeah. And Max Weinberg's drum set. And so like, if you haven't been, definitely check it out. I didn't know it really until we'd met what it was. And not only that, but now we're in this amazing place. We're actually having a great collaboration session. You're leading with prompt questions, but we're all kind of getting to know each other. I couldn't have had a better time.
I'm so glad you were there. Thanks. Yeah, I think the environment really has a lot to do with helping people feel a little bit different from the way they do every day at work. We get into these routines. And so the afternoon shift field trips are meant to take us into a literal other space and hopefully, metaphorically get us into another environment where we can try to get out of that routine and maybe see some things a little bit differently.
It works. It was awesome.
Thanks for
being there. Many, many more. So, and Jeff Moss. Jeff Moss is the CEO of Parker Dewey and longtime friend as well. So Parker Dewey, actually, you'll probably be able to explain it better than me, but I'm an advocate of Parker Dewey. I tell everybody about it that I meet who needs an extra infusion, whether that's in their business sense or their nonprofit sense, of micro interns. So micro internships are the ability to have college students help you with any of your projects. So Jeff, tell us a little bit about Parker Dewey.
Yeah, I appreciate that, though, to be blunt, you give a better overview than I do. Parker Dewey is a mission-driven organization that's been around about a decade. And we are 100% focused on helping college students and recent graduates get professional experience through short-term projects. Again, we call them micro internships. They're 10, 15, 20-hour assignments, defined beginning, defined end, defined deliverable. For busy professionals, what's great is beyond giving these amazing opportunities to these amazing individuals, it really helps with a couple of things. Luke, as you said, it's a great way to get small projects off your plate. We're not talking about fetching coffee or making copies, but things like industry research, draft a blog article, go help us research for a conference we're going to in a couple of weeks, conduct data analysis, all of these 10, 15, 20-hour projects that, again, aren't bet the company, don't require access to sensitive info, but they're things that are on a to-do list. The second thing it does is it helps companies identify, engage, and assess candidates for summer internships and full-time roles. So while the work's getting done, you're getting insights on, is this someone who maybe we want to hire? And they're getting to learn about your organization. You might have a company that's not as well known, or might be hiring for roles that might not seem obvious, or you're trying to deepen relationships with students at schools you're going to be visiting. Again, it's this great win-win for both the learners and the organization. So just
Awesome.
honored to consider you a friend.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And also, we talked a little bit ahead of time, and you had mentioned that you would be helping out with infusing our grassroots do-gooders with a micro intern to help them move their project to the next level. So thank you very much for that. And I'm sure we'll make that matchmaking happen right after this as well.
Amazing.
Pretty cool, right?
Thank you.
Pretty cool. So with that, I'd love to do a live brainstorming session. So with that, we're going to take a challenge, let's say, that you have right now. We are busy professionals. We're running around like maniacs. We're putting on shows like this and
Sure
jumping on
are.
10 stages. You know, we're making things happen. What do you need right now?
So that's a great question. And I would actually like to shift it to something we haven't quite touched on yet, which is one of the results of my sort of new mindset about how I live my life and realizing that, wow, we all need more community. And really that's how that problem surfaced that I talked about earlier. But part of the founding team for Wayland CAN, which is Wayland Community Action Network, which is a nonprofit we established in Wayland, which is all about how do we increase connection and belonging on a hyper-local level. So I think, we officially became a nonprofit about 1.5 years ago. We're really working hard right now to come up with strategy, especially in the climate we're all living in, macro and micro levels, of coming together and building deeper relationships and particularly deeper relationships across differences, whether those are age or skin color or religion, finding ways to bring people together to actually measurably increase connection and belonging.
I think it's fair.
An easy problem to solve.
Yeah, right, I know. I'd say big picture, I'm sure we all feel it.
Yeah.
There are forces at work trying to divide, and we don't like that across the board. That's pretty much the antithesis of what this show is all about, which is let's infuse the best of us with our collective brain trust. So with that, Brady, any advice for Karen on how to solve the world?
Well, again, I just think the work is so amazing and so important. And as you've shared with me and in your talk, I know the research that really backs up the health benefits of this as well are just astounding. So it's an urgent challenge that you and your colleagues are tackling in this. I wonder about facilitating connections between the leaders of the different organizations as a way to find more of the mutual opportunities to get the broader groups that they represent together. Has that been something you've been playing with?
I love that. So we did start doing potlucks. And the first one we did, we brought together like 2 of the select board members and 3 of the school committee members and other people who were prominent leaders in the community and took a lot of pictures, right? And then it created a lot of FOMO, which was awesome, and people wanted to come. I think we're having trouble okay, how do we take that and then push it forward? We've had some other potlucks, but I think there's a lot of friction around, well, who else is going to be there? And I don't know, and it's hard too, because in the suburbs in particular, right? It's winter, it's dark a lot. It's we have very few also retail and restaurants in our town. Mm-hmm. So it's usually at somebody's house. Anyway, I think your point is well taken. How do we kind of take it to the next level?
Yeah. Another idea would be to give those organizations some guidance on the things you've learned about what makes a great gathering, and almost like a event in a box. Here's a way to create the prompt. Here's the way to get the invitations.
Pop-up potlucks.
Yeah. So right. So have you?
We just started ideating
great.
This.
Yeah. I just think you're right. People are so busy, and we need as much support and take people as far along as you can. And also ultimately there will be the people like yourself who step up. And so how do you identify more of those people who want to lead?
That's a great question, actually, because a lot of those people are not in leadership positions in the town.
Right.
They're just everyday people who are looking for somebody to ask, right?
Yeah.
So how about Jeff, advice for someone who's going to be having their first micro intern to take where they are now to the next level? Being very specific about that in terms of your direction, letting them free flow. What do you think from your experience? Because I know you've had a lot of that over the years.
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm understanding the question though appropriately. Sorry, I feel like Big Brother on the screen. No, so your advice is to an organization that wants to use a micro intern for the first
Yeah,
time?
I'm thinking just more so like with Karen, in terms of this is going to be her first time working with one of the micro interns. How does she go through that process, and what would you advise for how to get the most out of that experience?
Yeah, I love that question. And again, thanks for making sure I was thinking about it the right way. Our suggestion is to think about the endpoint that you want to get to. And then to really leave as much as you can as blank sheet of paper. These college students are so creative and they have ideas that old guys like me don't think about. So Karen, I would almost say, go out to college students and say, this is the goal. We want to create communities where we can get founders and others together. We want you to do research on the way other communities have been built and come up with some best practices and put together a plan that we can put into action with a low lift and low stakes. And we want you to summarize it as a PowerPoint deck in 5 slides that includes links to examples of how other organizations have done it. And that's, again, a perfect example of a micro internship because you could actually pick 5 different students. One might be following the entrepreneurship track at Boston College. Another might be a marketing major. Another might be a philosophy major. From all of these different schools and backgrounds. Some may have worked at startups, some may have technology backgrounds, but you're getting all of these different ideas and you're bringing together ideas that may have worked in communities that don't seem as obvious of where those transitions can be.
Excellent.
I saw Robert Putnam speak recently, who wrote the book Bowling Alone. And one of the things he talked about was, because really the main reason I attended that talk was, so what can we do?
Mm-hmm.
Like what's something I can walk away with and implement? And he just brought up something that relates to what you said. He said, go young, go local, and go moral. And what he meant by moral was more like golden rule moral. Mm-hmm. 10 Commandment, treat your neighbor as you want to be treated. So I think what he says really supports what you just said.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, the one other thing I would add is there's a great book written by a friend of mine years ago called Little Bets. And the whole concept is about how so many great innovations started not by trying to sort of make the perfect the enemy. Like it started with these little tests. How can we test this idea, test it quickly? If it doesn't work, that's okay. But if it does work, let's learn from it and build upon it. And I think there's just so many opportunities for that within entrepreneurship in general.
100%.
Well,
thank you.
Experts, thank you very much. Karen, thank you so very much
Pleasure,
as well,
thank
too.
you.
It's been a blast putting this together. So thank you all for your support as well, too. And with that, I think we'll kind of kick off with a little music here and wrap today. Booyah, team. That was fun. Thank you. Thank
I feel
you.
like we could keep going for another hour and a half.
Yeah.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Brady.
Have a good weekend,
Thank you
guys.
very much. Appreciate it. Just want to make sure everyone's on time. You're thinking, yeah, okay, perfect. Awesome.
Oh, sorry. We can do it here. That's better down here.